Take us inside how this happened, the quick 3-day courtship, and Doc Rivers is right back as a head coach.
Yeah, guys. Mike D'Antoni was fairly well down the road as possibly the Sixers' new head coach until Doc Rivers was let go in L.A. on Monday, and very quickly Elton Brand, the Sixers GM, got on the phone with Doc Rivers, got him on a plane to Philly, and after meeting with Brand and then meeting with ownership on Wednesday night, they moved quickly into working through terms on a deal. They had it done less than 24 hours later, and now Doc Rivers, I'm told, on a 5-year contract to take over in Philadelphia. And they were, they were very taken by their meeting and their time with Doc. Nor the owners nor Elton Brand really had a relationship with him. But they absolutely believe he's the right guy to try to take them forward here and get them out of the first round in the Eastern Conference next season's playoffs.
Woj, you and I both knew that Doc Rivers was going to be the next head coach of the 76ers. We talked about it the other day. What now? What moves do the 76ers make in order to kind of revamp this roster if they make any? I mean, the amount of people they have to pay between Tobias Harris, Josh Richardson, JWill Embiid, Al Horford, and Ben Simmons. What's next?
It's an enormous payroll right now, and they've got to look at listen, what Doc's got to do, and I know everyone's going to focus on Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons and how they're going to play together and how he might use them. But he's got to really maximize the other big financial investments Philly has made, players whose contracts tell you are going to be there. Tobias Harris, Al Horford, and especially Tobias Harris is an interesting one because he had his best NBA season with Doc Rivers a year ago in L.A., right before he was traded to Philly before that February trade deadline. He was a player of the month in the Western Conference. That's hard to do with all the great players out there. And so I think that was a big part of the conversation between Doc and Elton Brand and Philly about getting more out of Tobias Harris, putting him in situations where he can excel. And those are all going to be the pieces to the puzzle for a Philly team that roster-wise and with the contracts they haven't left themselves a lot of flexibility to do much more in a significant way outside of if they decided to move on from a Joel Embiid or a Ben Simmons, which that is not their plan now. They want to continue to try to build around those two, and bringing in Doc Rivers gives them a chance to get a fresh look at how they can best play together.
Woj, now that Doc Rivers is inked in Philly, the Clippers' seat is still vacant. Ty Lue is still out there. What are we hearing with the Clippers and Ty Lue, as well as Mike D'Antoni and the Indiana Pacers? Pacers, that's a good team.
Well, yeah, I mean, Keyshawn, starting with Ty Lue in L.A., he's in a strong position as that search starts, and he is well regarded there by Steve Ballmer and Lawrence Frank and Mike Winger, their front office, the players. He earned the players' respect last year on the staff as an assistant. Obviously, he brings a championship coaching pedigree that really nobody else in this search who's going to be a candidate brings. Not only did he win a title and go to the finals multiple times in Cleveland, Ty Lue understands what it's like to be under the microscope, to sit at the podium, to have a high-pressure head coaching job because he coached LeBron James. And so he is, at the outset of this search, the most prominent part of it. But Steve Ballmer has wanted to do a search. He hasn't been able to do that since he took over the Clippers. So they're going to talk to other candidates. But Ty Lue, going into this, has a great chance, a great opportunity to come away as the coach. As for Mike D'Antoni, Indiana has started their search. It remains to be seen whether they want to include D'Antoni in it. And for Mike D'Antoni, his route to becoming a head coach in the league again, which I think he will be, is perhaps sitting out a year. I don't know that any of the other openings there are a fit right now for Mike D'Antoni.
Woj, if you're Joe Tsai, the owner of the Brooklyn Nets, how do you respond, or do you say anything to the likes of Kyrie Irving's comments about Steve Nash and that this is going to be a collective coaching style?
Yeah, it wasn't great. And listen, Joe Tsai and the Nets have to decide how they want to address it, if they want to. But I heard from others in the league, who talked about this is an opportunity now for Steve Nash, that he's got to address it, that he should address it within his team with Kyrie Irving, if not for any other reason than the respect of the other players he's going to coach there. This coaching the Nets is not a collective effort. It wasn't. Steve Nash wasn't hired so that the head coaching position was this like day of the week, who's in charge. Steve Nash was hired to be the head coach, and I think for him, I think it's important probably at some point that he reminds Kyrie Irving, reminds his team of that, because I think, as you guys know, that's not how it works. It can't work that way, and he's got to be able to, when that season starts and training camp starts, Steve Nash has to be able to command the respect of that room, and it starts with having, his star players understanding that, listen, while they're going to have input, and we know that stars in this league carry a great voice, that Steve Nash has to be that figure for the team. It'll be interesting to see how or if they address it with him.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.